Very good evening to all respected members. Today, I'm delighted to present a guest lecture on behavioral supply chain management. This section explores how human psychology, decision making, and cognitive biases influence supply chain performance in modern organization. Let us begin our today's discussion based on the proposed topic, behavioral supply chain management. So this is our program agenda. Let us see as per the sequential flow. In today's lecture, we will cover the following things. Introduction to behavioral supply chain management, human decision making in supply chain, behavioral issues, bullwhip effect, behavioral operation research, debiasing strategies, practical real-world case studies, and finally, future directions and key takeaways. Let us directly get into the problem statement. What is meant by behavioral supply chain management? The behavioral supply chain management system studies how basic human behavior affects the supply chain decisions. Traditional supply chain models assume that managers always make rational decisions. However, in reality, emotions, cognitive limitations, stress, fear, as well as social influences significantly affect the human decisions. Behavioral supply chain management combines psychology, behavioral science, operation research, and supply chain management in order to better understand these above realities. Research shows that many supply chain disruptions occur because of behavioral failures rather than technical issues alone. Let us have a discrimination between traditional supply chain management versus behavioral supply chain management. The traditional supply chain management focuses mainly on efficiency, optimization, and cost reduction. Behavioral supply chain, on the other hand, recognizes that decision makers operate under bounded rationality, a concept introduced by Herbert Simon. Behavioral supply chain management places human factors at the top center of analysis and integrates psychological applications into demand forecasting, risk management, and operational planning. Now, next we will see the impact of human decision making in supply chains. According to Daniel Kahneman, humans use two type of thinking. First one is system one, which is very fast, dynamic, intuitive, and emotional. In this type of supply chain, sometimes these kind of decision making may lead to panic ordering or reactive decisions based on the uncertain situation. System 2 is very slow, analytical, and data driven. This supports strategic planning and rational decision making. Under pressure, many managers rely heavily on System 1, which can amplify the operational problems. Here, let us discuss the different behavioral biases in supply chain management. Several behavioral biases affect supply chain decision making. First one is overconfidence bias. This causes the managers to trust inaccurate forecast data. Anchoring bias makes the firms depend too much on the past demand data. Next one is loss aversion. Bias leads to excessive safety stock availability. Heuristic results in overreaction after memorable disruptions such as COVID-19. Status quo bias creates resistance to change. Optimism bias causes underestimation of delays and risk. Understanding these above biases helps the organization to improve their decision making as well as quality. Measuring the quality of decision, whether it is right or wrong, with respect to the real time situations. Next, we will focus on bullwhip effect in supply chain, in behavioral supply chain. Bullwhip effect explains how small demand fluctuations become larger as they move upstream in the supply chain. The small variations at the consumer level can create massive variability for manufacturers. Behavioral causes include panic ordering, shortage gaming, fear of stockouts, and poor information sharing. This shows that supply chain instability is not operational but also considered to be behavioral in nature. Next one is behavioral operation research. This integrates the human behavior into quantitative models. One important example is the news vendor problem. Managers often fail to order the mathematically optimal quantity because of bias such as anchoring and pull to center behavior. Next one is strategies and debiasing techniques. Organizations can reduce behavioral errors through several approaches. First one is decision support systems and AI tools improve forecasting accuracy. Behavioral training programs create awareness about biases. Information transparency and collaborative forecasting improve coordination. So these are some of the basic strategies that are used for decision making in order to predict the external supply and demand about a particular commodity or a product. To understand this, now let us discuss a real world case study by discussing well known standard examples in the past. Let us look at some of the practical examples. Say Toyota production system, they implemented lean principles and continuous improvement to overcome the behavioral resistance and improve the supplier quality. Therefore, Toyota production system has become a global benchmark organization for lean manufacturing principles. During COVID-19, a toilet paper crisis, panic buying demonstrated the impact of fear and availability bias on supply chain. Procter and Gamble reduced inventory swings by implementing collaborative forecasting and showing the real-time sales data. So these are some of the challenging real case examples that has been presented here. So what are the future directions? The future of behavioral supply chain management includes the integration of AI-powered behavioral analytics, digital twins, neuroeconomics in supply chain management, and the sustainability focused behavioral models. Researchers are increasingly studying how culture, social norms, and human psychology influence the global supply chain performance. Behavioral supply chain management is becoming an essential field for resilient and intelligent supply chain. So now we have came to the final end of the today's guest lecture. Before I conclude, these are some of the key takeaways from today's guest lecture. Let me summarize one by one. First thing is human behavior is one of the most important critical factor in supply chain success. Behavioral biases are considered to be more systematic and measurable. The bullwhip effect is strongly connected to the human decision making. Technology, training, and process redesign are essential for debiasing. Behavioral supply chain management bridges the gap between the theoretical models and real managerial behavior in the organization. So, to conclude the above all, I can say that the behavioral supply chain management integrates the human emotions plus the availability of latest modern technology such that we can able to decide the future fate of supply chain somehow to the safer extent. Main primary goal of behavioral supply chain management is not to just assume certain data or information on rationality. Exactly, we have to design intelligent systems that work with the human nature and capability, not against the human nature. This was the major outcome of today's guest lecture. So, with these few words, thank you all for your valuable time and participation. I hope this session has provided a lot of key insights into behavioral supply chain management and its practical relevance in modern industries of today global world. Thank you all. We will meet again in another occasion, the different topic of agenda. Thank you once again.